Strap in and be prepared.
Maybe I'll learn from your failures.
That is what you could do.
Yeah.
Interesting guests.
Kelly Graves, Mike Parker, Josh Pate, George Reiser, Ryan Lee, Yogi Roth, who said that Justin and I are smart.
Sharp opinions.
I think Dan Lanning sitting in his office going, you know what, fine, give us the toughest road to win the national championship. That's what it should be.
Oregon State in their baseball program is still operating from a position of strength, even if they're independent. But here they are in the College World Series.
And some smiles.
It's iconic.
We're not keeping score, but maybe we're keeping score.
The fastest 60 minutes in sports is on the air. It's Danny Havel.
When I wake up every morning, I say to myself, what can I do to make Baby J's life better today?
Justin Grossweiler.
Have I ever told you, Danny, that growing up I really loved ducks?
Danny and Justin starts now on Fox Sports Eugene and Newport.
Hello, neighbors, and welcome high atop the Delta Triad in the Crystal Palace of the Fox Sports Eugene Bigfoot Beverages Studios in Eugene and Newport. This is the Danny and Justin radio program. We call it the fastest 60 minutes in sports. You can follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky, Danny and Justin. Also, pod us, whatever your platform is, whether it's Odyssey, iHeart, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, YouTube, name it, we're on it. Just type in Danny and Justin. Got to spell out the and, or just type in fastest 60 minutes. You'll find us. Like, subscribe. We might even like you back because we like you. Thanks for tuning in, friends. As we get into a Wednesday program, let's welcome in my tag team partner, Justin Grossweiler. We call him Baby J. What a boy.
Well, Danny, it's great to be here today.
It's great to be on the air.
It is great to be on the air. One of those days where life is always kind of throwing challenges at you, right? And today's one of those days.
Challenges are opportunities, young man.
Well, it's another opportunity to stay calm, cool, and collected. And I think that was accomplished today by all of us here at Fox Sports Eugene and Newport. So happy to be here.
I'm still perplexed by, I was up in Corvallis this morning with Saul Galvan, and we were doing some work up there. And then I heard that there was like a lightning strike, and it was like booming here. And I'm looking to the south as we're driving back from Corvallis, and I'm like, it just looked like it was a little overcast. It didn't look like there was any rain.
Yeah.
Apparently there was rain, there was thunder, there was lightning. And that's what, if you're just tuning into our voices right now and you're like, wow, they're on the air. Yeah. Station was knocked off the air for a while, but it's, sometimes the hand reaches down out of the heavens and gives a little flick. And that's what happened to us. We got flicked. But fortunately back on the air. So hopefully it stays on. We've got all the baling twine and the gum and the paper clips holding everything together right now.
Pure willpower.
So, the static electricity can do funny things. So on the program today, Justin Allegri, the voice of Cal. He's also a single-A baseball announcer in the Giants organization, the San Jose Giants. So it goes San Jose to Eugene and then Richmond. And I don't remember after that. So as it go up, so that's the AA is Richmond, the Flying Squirrels. I remember that.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Thank you. And he'll be on the show today. You can hear him on MLB The Show, and also recently named as one of the voices to fill in for Greg Papa and the San Francisco 49ers for their TV. So we'll have Justin on the program, the other Justin, we'll call him the OJ, sometime right around 2:20 to talk his perspective of Cal, Oregon State. Tomorrow on the program, we're going to have Mike Parker, voice of the Beavers, and then we'll flip it on Friday. We'll have the great Yogi Roth, the governor, on the program, and we'll talk a lot of Oregon. We're going to effort as well to get the voice of Montana State on the program before the end of the week. So jam-packed. We're out at Laurelwood tomorrow, so our last regular visit to Laurelwood for the summer, because summer is pretty much going to be gone. Well, it's not gone officially until late September. We already discussed this. But it's going to be the end of August, and it's our last August program. So then we'll pick one.
Right.
And
I just have to say this.
Yes.
We can call him OJ, but we can't call him the Juice.
Not going to. I didn't say that.
There's a reason why we can't call him that.
No.
I
would just say other Justin is the word I was going after.
We're in sports, man.
Other
OJ
Justin
is just a name that maybe we want to avoid.
Wow. I knew you were going to go there. There are other people that are going to. It's the other Justin, because there are now two Justins on the program. Okay, not the original Justin, because that could also be OJ. It's the other Justin. So Justin Allegri will be on the program. And then we'll do there's a lot of things happening in the world. One thing I do want to talk about is Nico Reed making the Chargers roster after not getting invited to the Combine, not getting drafted. You want to talk about the infinitesimal odds that we're playing against Nico Reed to make the 53-man roster in an NFL program. Everything stacked against him. And look at this young man. Got through all of it and is going to be drawing an NFL salary and start drinking that cup of coffee on Saturdays and Sundays, which is fantastic. Well,
it's great.
Mondays, Thursdays, Saturdays, Sundays, whatever it's going to be. So that's fantastic for him.
And we're going to be able to hear him right here on the station.
Yeah, because we're the home of the Los Angeles Chargers. Matt Money Smith and Daniel Jeremiah on the call.
He'll be with Jamar Caldwell, also a former Duck, and Justin Herbert, former Duck.
And
a lot of former Ducks on the Chargers.
By the way, when we went through yesterday in the last part of the program with all the players, all the Oregon State players that made the cuts, we failed to mention those that were starting, and there's one big name that is going to start the season on injured reserve, which is Derek Harmon for the Steelers. Mm-hmm. We did not mention him yesterday, just so you know. I didn't mention him. Yes, I'm not saying this is all on you.
No, we did omit him, I guess you should say. So Josh Connolly as well. I don't think we talked about Josh Connolly.
Yes, we did. Well. Yeah, I listened back to the program. That's why I'm saying. I was the one name I was just like, did we mention? And the reason why is because what we were looking at is we were looking at those players that are on the active roster.
Right.
And they're not showing those that are being stashed on injured reserve. One note as well as we stay on the Chargers, the practice squad. You see who was named one of the players in the practice squad at quarterback position?
DJ Uiagalelei
so he's made the practice squad. So he still gets to practice with the team every week, all that. And they draw that minimum salary. So, you're one injury away from elevating yourself back up to the big squad.
Well, and he makes sense as a guy to have on a practice squad as well. Think about it. He's the kind of guy that he's a big, strong, physical quarterback that you're going to be able to use him as like a scout guy. There's going to be certain quarterbacks in the league where Josh Allen, maybe you could sit there and say, hey, he could play that sort of role on a practice squad where a 6'1", 200-pound quarterback couldn't. You know what I'm saying? So he gives you somebody that you can run plays against, and you can run plays for in that practice squad that you can kind of simulate some of these quarterbacks, the big, strong, mobile quarterbacks, which he obviously is.
And there was another practice squad player. Who was the other one that I was talking about or that we had mentioned? It's slipping me right now, but we'll get back to that in a second. Oregon's women's golf has been named the number 2 team in Golf Week's preseason rankings coming into 2025-26. So high rankings, and of course, Kiara Romero, one of the best amateur golfers in the world, will be helping, as a junior now, Oregon women's golf maintain their presence on the national golf scene. So they got that going for them. A little bit later on in the program as well, or maybe we'll do it here in this segment. Who do you believe when it comes to rumors, innuendos, things that are going on behind the scenes? And we're going to start with Micah Parsons because that is the biggest, and it's not a hold in, it's a hold out. He's not practicing. He was a distraction on the sidelines in the Cowboys' last exhibition preseason game. He's been having these meetings now with Brian Schottenheimer, and there's like this little war of words with Jerry Jones going on podcasts. And I don't know if he had a little nip before he got on the air with some of these guys. You never know with 80-year-old Jerry Jones. So the war of words that are going on, attacking the agent attacking the Cowboys, and now there's rumors swirling that there is an alleged deal in the works between Parsons and another NFL team, and we'll get into that in a second. And who do you believe when it comes down to all of this? Or is all this posturing like,
sure,
I will say Myles Garrett or Trey Hendrickson or Trey McLaurin or
Terry McLaurin? Yeah. I was about to say, all these hold-ins actually have been working. All these guys are getting contracts.
It has worked for them. But the big difference between all of those and Micah Parsons is that they've been practicing and playing with the team.
He's holding out.
So is this the right strategy as well? We'll get into that. And then the last part of the program, after we're done with the voice of Cal, Justin Allegri, at 20 after, we'll have a debate. And it's not going to be a serious debate, but we're going to kind of take a point-counterpoint and discuss because it's still going to be on all of the fans of Oregon football, is who's going to start this weekend. Now, the odds-on favorite is going to be Dante Moore. It's not named.
They do not have a depth chart.
They will not have the depth chart. Dan Lanning's been pretty consistent with this throughout the years. So it's going to be who gets under center, who gets announced as the starter at Autzen Stadium when everyone rolls it out. But we are going to play not a little game, but just a discussion, a fun discussion of let's make the case for Dante Moore. Let's make the case for Austin Novasad, because those two seem to be 1 and 1A. Are they interchangeable? Which one has possibly made the case? The other difficulty we have in this is you're not able to see practices. You're not able to see a depth chart. You're able to just kind of surmise off of the little window that we saw at the spring game. And then just they have some similarities, but some wild differences in their skill sets just because of the background and the style of offenses that they played in high school. But that's really in the rearview mirror. Both these players have a lot of similarities, even when it comes to they've both been in the program now for 2 years. They both know Will Stein's offense. And so there should be a comfort level there. And we'll discuss it. Last part of the program. Sound fun?
It does sound like a fun topic. And I think there's a legitimate debate there.
I think there is. So want to remind folks on Friday, we're going to do our big bets. And this year, our twist on our big bets is going to be we're going to involve you, the fans. So we don't have a lot of rules on this program. Believe me, we don't. We need more, but we don't. And we probably won't, because guardrails are fine, but a bunch of rules they bore me. But we have to have a couple of rules legally when we do contests. And this will be a contest. What?
No, you're not wrong. It's very important.
You got to be 21 or over to participate in big bets. So we have to take you on your word. It's going to be Scout's honor. We're not going to be asking for IDs when you call in. I'm not going to validate that, but I will say it again when we open up the phones on Friday in the last segment, when after we've done our picks, myself, Baby J, and Goose, then we're going to open up the phones, and I'd like 5 callers. So the first 5 that get to the phones in order, we will ask you to give us your picks, and we're gonna have a little prize. If you beat the best score of the 3 of us, so like if Baby J goes 4-1, then you got to go 5-0 to beat him, or 4-1 with the tiebreaker, because we're gonna have tiebreakers this year. Then you'll win a prize. And I think the fun thing is that if nobody wins, we roll the prize over into the next week to make the prize pack a little bit bigger. So that'd be fun.
I think it's to be fun. I think that last year you had a little bit more fun than I did. I still had fun, but not as much fun, I think.
Well, you definitely didn't have fun at the end of the year.
No.
And then we're also going to have our own little game. So you, me, and Goose are going to have our own little game in terms of who has the best record at the end of the year. So here's the other thing, is that once you win a week, if you're 21 or older and you win a week, then unfortunately station rules as well. You can't participate for 30 days. It's a long season. So if you win in week 1, you're going to have to sit on the bench, let somebody else play.
Is it a long season? I think it's sort of a short season. It always goes by as
12
fast.
weeks.
I know, that's so fast.
With buys in there. So it's like 13, 14-week season. What are you talking about?
It goes by so quickly, though.
It's 3.
We're going to be talking about the end of the season before you know it.
All right, you want to talk Micah Parsons? Danny and Justin radio program. Justin Allegri going to be on the show here in a moment, the voice of the Cal Bears, who come up for a reprise of Pac-12 After Dark at Research Stadium against Oregon State Saturday night at 7:30 under the lights. So Micah Parsons has been the loudest holdout. He wanted to renegotiate his contract, and Jerry Jones says he offered him the biggest contract that he's ever offered anybody on the defensive side of the ball, blah, 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 blah. And Micah Parsons says it wasn't enough. He wants out of Dallas. He doesn't think they can win NFL title, so he wants to go to a team where he thinks he can win an NFL title. It's the same thing Myles Garrett said before he got a massive contract. It's the same thing that Terry McLaurin, well, actually, Terry McLaurin didn't say he didn't think they could win in Washington. He just wanted more money. It was, I want to be appreciated. So that is what has happened on the outside of the lines. Okay. So the other part of this to me is this just a long game? For Micah Parsons, He's arguably, you can say statistically, and his presence on the field is disruptive. And it is a game changer for whoever is playing the Cowboys. They are much better defensively when he's on the field and not. So is he worth what he's asking for? Likely, if you also do comparisons to other players in that position and the impact that they have. However, is it right for a player to hold an entire organization hostage for a dollar figure and then to go out and make a public statement to the world that I don't think we can win an NFL title here in Dallas with the team that we have? I mean, that's an indictment on your fellow players and the coaching staff and the ownership. And that's in black and white. That's been said over and over again by Micah Parsons. So why would you want him back in the building, no matter what? Now, he's under contract. That's the other thing. He's under contract. He's renegotiating a contract that he already had in place, that he already agreed to. So the Cowboys' options right now are to trade him and get some value out of him, or let him sit and fine him, or acquiesce to his demands and give him a bigger deal. Those are the options. Those are the things that are out in front of Micah Parsons. It's door 1, door 2, or door 3. That is it. So now the rumors are starting to circulate that Micah Parsons wants to go to another team and that there is a player and an offer on the table from the Green Bay Packers. Now, you all know out there in Danny and Justin land that both Baby J and I are Packer fans. However, sorry about the door closing back there. There's a lot going on behind me. However, there is no skin in the game in terms of what we are advocating one way or the other. And that, to me, it's a lot of noise. I think to us, it's just a lot of noise right now. However, the question does come up is that these rumors start to fly, and who do you believe? Do you believe the sources because they're unnamed sources, which I really have always had a problem with? I've literally always had a problem with someone saying, well, a source told me. You know, if it's valid to me, I think the person should be able to reveal themselves. I talked to XYZ person in XYZ organization. They said this. That, to me, holds a lot more validity than unnamed source. Source within. How many times have we gotten in the rumor mill and found out it was just nothing but a lot of smoke? So my question and our question is always, who do you believe? And what's the motivation behind it? Because there could be a quote-unquote source saying this, and it is literally, we find out that it comes from within the camp of the person who's trying to get something out of it, whether it be the Cowboy camp or the Micah Parsons camp in this case. Listen, don't believe or don't discount the fact that there are stories that are planted or leaked, I'm doing air quotes right now, to media with a purpose, with an agenda. I'm going to put this out there. I'm going to see how fast I can fan the flames and maybe get the other side to move to where I want them to go. And so Micah Parsons saying behind the scenes, I'd really like to go to Green Bay. I think they can win a NFL title there if I go. And then Jerry Jones saying, well, you know, basically no. Or, well, you really want to go? I'll go talk to those guys. See what they're going to offer me, because it'd probably be a king's ransom. And then if you're the receiving team on that, from Micah Parsons to XYZ team, is he going to then renegotiate his contract with you, or is he going to play for a year with the promise of a renegotiated contract and then become disgruntled and then become a problem for you in the offseason? So does he become radioactive? But it still comes back down to who do you believe and what you believe. And the Micah Parsons situation is a microcosm of other stories that we've witnessed throughout the months, and a lot of them in football. But this happens in all of sport. It's not necessarily just football. So it's planting a story for a purpose. And where sometimes there's smoke, there is fire. Other times there is just a bunch of smoke. And it is a smoke screen, and it is a diversion. It is I want to divert your eyes over here. I want you to watch this while I do this over here. And so I think a lot of this with Micah Parsons is if I had a bunch of money in my pocket right now, I would say that Micah Parsons, he might hold out for a few more days, but then we'll hear an announcement that he's come to an agreement with the Cowboys for a whopping new contract. Because Jerry Jones can bluster all he wants as well on podcasts or radio shows or whatever it is, or on Twitter. I think he's probably got somebody doing Twitter for him. And I'm not giving him one more penny. I already gave him everything that he wanted, and then he keeps asking for more. So, mess with him. Not going to do it. But at the end of the day, Jerry Jones, how many years does he have left to win an NFL title? The Cowboys used to be the gold star of the NFL. We go back to Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer and NFL championships. That was the standard for a lot of years. They haven't won. They haven't been significant in the NFL for a long time. All right, we're going to take a quick break, come back. Hopefully, Justin Allegri from Cal Athletics, the Cal football program, the voice of the Bears here on the Danny and Justin radio program, Fox Sports, Eugene and Newport. So Justin and I will debate Dante Moore or Austin Novasad. Who should start for the Ducks this weekend against Montana State? Yes, it will be a debate. So we'll have that in the last part of the program. But before that, we head over to the Oregon Man Clinics hotline at 541-343-5673 and welcome in, first time on the Danny and Justin radio program. It is the golden voice of the Golden Bears of Cal Athletics. It's Justin Allegri joining us. Good afternoon, sir. How are things down in the Bay Area?
It's game week, so it's an exciting time. We always get fired up for week one, and it's going to be a good matchup up at Reeser Stadium, so we're looking forward to it for sure.
Well, you do wear a lot of hats, and we're going to get to your role with the San Jose Giants. That is the short season single A club in the Giants organization, of course, feeds up to the Emeralds and others in the Giants organization, and also you are on the MLB The Show, and were recently named to one of the new members of the broadcast crew for the San Francisco 49ers for this season as Greg Papa recuperates. So congratulations on all of that. So my question to you is, how do you compartmentalize all the different roles that you have and find time to do all of the prep work to be able to pull this thing off on Saturday night?
Yeah, I mean, it's an absolute honor to be part of that group that is filling in for Greg, first of all. So I'm really looking forward to that, as bittersweet as it is, because we all want Greg to get back
absolutely
as soon as possible, yeah. Right? But yeah, I take a lot of pride in the prep side of it. I think that's a real fun part of the aspect of being a broadcaster, because you can dive into names and numbers and storylines and whatnot. So I have a lot of fun with that. And, when you're covering two different football teams in the same week, it's going to be a little bit more, but when it's NFL football and it's the 49ers, I have no problem with working a little overtime that week. So it'll be great. And now, for Cal, we're getting used to more than 50 new players. So early parts of the season, it could be a little more taxing, that's for sure.
And for our listeners, Justin, if they're sitting out there thinking, where do I recognize this voice from? It could be from MLB The Show, the PlayStation video game. Of course, you've been in the last 5 installments. How did you get involved with that?
Yeah, I'm that voice that you guys turn down when you're playing. No.
Stop. So
it's interesting. A lot of stories from the business just come on random circumstances, random conversations. And I knew a friend of mine who was in high school, at a different high school, when we were growing up playing baseball. And we just kind of knew each other casually just because we played baseball together and whatnot. Well, he went down to play at UC San Diego and got an internship with Sony, where the game is produced in San Diego, coming out of college. And we had lost track of each other for the most part, but he knew I was in broadcasting and I knew he was producing. And when this role idea came up, they kind of looked around for some minor league broadcasting voices or some voices of lower levels to host the, quote, radio show. So I was one of the names that came up, and there was this long interview process and read a lot of scripts, and ultimately it came down to me. So it's still a little surreal to hear that every time it comes up on the video game, but it's been a lot of fun, and they're such a great organization. I mean, they do such a phenomenal job producing that show year in and year out and making it different enough for people to want to play it year after year. So it's a lot of fun. It's still surreal, but it's a lot of fun.
And let me tell you, as someone that plays those games very often, I'm a big video gamer, especially sports games. Those things really add a lot to the experience. You're going through your franchise. You want to be able to hear what's going on. And so hearing your voice and, that aspect of the game being there, actually, I really appreciate it. So I just want to let you know that.
Thank you for saying that. And they put a lot of work into it, too, because it's a little bit easier to sound normal when you're doing a play-by-play where it's ground ball to third, picked up by so-and-so. But the radio show element, they had to really work on what's called stitching to make it sound as natural as possible, because you're just talking, but it's all stitched together in different segments of different sentences. So they worked really hard to make it sound as good as possible, and it's impressive to see that.
All right, so let's start on the offense for Justin Wilcox's team. We have Justin Allegri, the voice of the Cal Bears, joining us as they get ready for a reprisal of Pac-12 After Dark up at Reser Stadium this Saturday night, 7:30 against the Beavers to start out the season. Jaron Kiwe-Sagaputali, the guy who was just here for like a cup of coffee at U of O and then is taking his freshman talents down to Cal and just named the starter by Coach Wilcox in a battle with Devin Brown for that starting role. So what's the ceiling or the expectation? Are they measured down in Cal, or is it just like, oh my goodness, this is the second coming?
Well, it's interesting because this day and age of college football that we're in, it was the highs and lows of the offseason where Jaron, he was at California Memorial Stadium on a visit. He was talking to Aaron Rodgers. He was talking to Marshawn Lynch, and then he commits to Oregon. You see him on the field at the Rose Bowl, and then wait a minute, he's coming back, and this is all this stuff going on. And then when you got down to it, it was in fall camp. All right, it's Jaron versus a guy that was on the national championship team last year, and Devin Brown. Let's see who wins the job. And I think a lot of people thought that Devin, with his experience just in general, would have a great chance. But Jaron came on. I mean, his arm strength is tremendous. His accuracy is precise. But he's a freshman, so you always have that in the back of your mind. But he won the job outright. He was the better quarterback in fall. Guys kind of gravitated to him, even though he is a freshman, and he has the mentality of kind of brushing off any type of adversity that we've seen so far. But when the bright lights are on, who knows what that'll look like. And I think that's the final test to see how he responds to an atmosphere that's loud, that's energetic, that is passionate, and we'll see how that goes. But the expectations, are very high for him because of his talent, and he is so young, and he's a true freshman, and you only expect him to get better, and that's what's so exciting about him.
And I know that Danny and I both do not envy you trying to pronounce his name correctly, as we have tried to do throughout his time at Oregon, and obviously he's moved on to Cal.
You got plenty of those, by the way. You got quite a roster.
Yeah. It's not quite the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, but we're getting there.
So just in terms of the skill positions around him, of course, Jaden Ott didn't have a lot of time on the field last season due to some injuries. That he does move on to Oklahoma. I believe it was the top 8 receivers on the team, I think I read, that are not on the team this year. So just a lot of turnover with the skill positions. What are you expecting out of those guys? I know that Jacob DeJesus is a guy is expected to be a really big target as a receiver.
Yeah, when you boil it down, there are 2 returning offensive touchdowns from last year. That's it. Jamal Wiley, who ran the ball in once last year, and Tron Grizel, who had a big game touchdown catch. That's the returning 2 touchdowns. So entirely new looking offense for this team. And when you also factor in that Brian Harsin is now the offensive coordinator, they brought in a couple of other offensive coaches. There's a lot of new elements to this team. Now, in terms of the personnel, they're going to rotate with 3 running backs who all come in as different transfers, one from FIU, one from NC State, and one from UTSA. And neither of them were really the guys at those respective schools, but they put up solid numbers. So I think we can expect maybe 3 of those players throughout the course of this game, and maybe they settle down to 1 or 2 as the season wears on. But different skill sets for the most part from those 3, and I think Brian Harsin likes to use running backs in a variety of ways, so that'll kind of be exciting. You mentioned Jacob DeJesus, who on paper, and when you see him in person, he's not a big guy. He's at 5'7", but he runs tremendous routes. He's a smart player, put up good numbers at UNLV, great kick returner, punt returner, so he can be one of those game changers. I mean, against the Bears last year in the LA Bowl, he had one of the best fake punt rushing touchdowns I've ever seen because of his speed, quickness, and ability to just kind of read what's in front of him. So he'll be a factor in that slot for sure. Tron comes back. I think he's more of that speedy type edge wide receiver. And then the guy that really raised some eyebrows in fall camp was Mark Hamper, who's a transfer from Idaho. He was committed to Wisconsin, but then pulled that back and came to Cal. I think he outright won the 3rd wide receiver spot. So he'll be impressive, and then it'll be a group of 3 different tight ends that they'll use. But I'm kind of more looking towards how is this offense going to operate under Coach Harsin, who likes to use a ton of personnel, likes to throw the kitchen sink at opposing defenses. That'll be really what this first game is all about. What can we expect moving forward with how he calls a game with the personnel that he has?
Former voice of the San Jose State Spartans, the current voice of the Cal Bears, San Jose Giants, and the NFL with the 49ers. It's Justin Allegri joining us on the Danny and Justin radio program. You can follow him on Twitter, just with how it sounds. It's Justin Allegri, ALLEGRI, and he joins us here live from the Bay Area as it'll be Oregon State and Cal after dark. 7:30 Saturday night at Research Stadium. So let's stay on the offense. One more question. And the line was, would it be fair to say it was a disaster in pass protection last year? All 5 starters up front are brand new, 4 coming through the portal. So everything starts with that line, pass protection, run blocking, all of that. So talk about how that is shaping up under this offense with Brian Harsin.
Yeah, I think you're right. That was one of the most frustrating parts of last season because the Bears looked at last year and thought, well, gosh, we were in 3 or 4 other games that we could have won. And I get it. You don't want to ever live on the could-haves or should-haves or would-haves. But when you boil it down to the razor-thin margin that last year was, it was a couple of plays on your special teams and a few plays from your offensive line to protect the quarterback that may have made all the difference. Mm-hmm. So when they diagnosed the problems from last year, they wanted to make sure that not only did they have some players that could start on the offensive line that were being brought in, but additional players to help support the depth of the offensive line because the depth was awful last year. A couple of players played 3. One player, I think Nick Morrow, played even 4 different offensive line positions last year because he had to. And now with those transfers they've brought in, hopefully that solidifies. I think as just a collective group, they're bigger than last year, which doesn't always translate, but it looks good at least to start. And I think they're going to be a little more sound total. Famika Ane has been brought in as a new offensive line coach who did a great job at New Mexico. So it's all tracking the right direction, but the cliche is, right, and I know fans probably hate to hear this, but we don't really know until you see them on the field. I mean, I've watched these guys in fall camp. They've looked solid, but what does it look like when they're facing another team?
Right.
And that's the TBA right now.
And the other team that they're going to be facing on Saturday is a team that only had 7 sacks all of last season. That's a huge emphasis on this Beavers team coming into this season. So just kind of putting the pieces together, you have a freshman quarterback, you have a lot of new skill positions, talent, but need to see how the continuity works together. Do you think it is going to be the offensive line that's going to be the key to Cal this Saturday to make it all work for this team?
It's in tandem. I think you've got a true freshman quarterback who, by all accounts and everywhere he's been before, has been tremendous. But again, that's against high school opponents. And, what's the maximum size crowd he's played in front of. So that's such an X factor to me that how Jaron responds. if he gets a little adversity early on, what does he do? Does he try to force something? Does he try to kind of go out of what his comfort zone is, or does he play his game? Part of that is the offensive line allowing him to play his game? Is he using a bunch of wide receivers? Is he trying to get short plays, or is he trying to go for it all? I think all of that factors in. The first quarter to me is more or less just going to be an observation of the approach from this team, more or less. Not so much the talent and how they're playing. It's more of the approach, how they're supporting a first game starter as a college player, and how they can then move forward on that the next three quarters.
Just moving over the defense, 2024 defense was pretty good, did a good job forcing turnovers. What are you expecting out of this year with all the turnover and all the different changes?
Yeah, and especially the secondary. That's the big turnover. You lost three NFL draft picks in that defensive back room. So almost entirely new in the defensive backfield. Now, there is some consistency up front, 14 defensive linemen, 10 returners on the list. So that's really, really solid. And you start with a couple of guys in terms of Aiden Keana-Ina, who was great last year, put a lot of pressure on opposing offenses. But to me, the core component to the success of the defense over the last few years has been their linebacking core. And you can go back several seasons and name a couple of players here and there that impact the game, may not make the tackle, but they impact the game so that the interception from the secondary happens, or the sack from the defensive line is able to come through. And that's where the strong elements to this defense still are. I mean, Kedu Loave is one of the best athletes you'll see. I mean, he is just tremendous. He was injured a little bit at the end of last season, but was having a phenomenal year as his sophomore campaign. And I think probably Beaver fans remember him in that last year of the Pac-12 where he burst onto the scene and really made a name for himself as a freshman. So who do you tandem him with? Because it was Jackson Sermon the year before, and it was Teddy Buchanan last year. Buchanan's now on an NFL roster, and by all accounts, it sounds like Luke Farrelly has really won the job. He's a redshirt freshman. He's looked strong. And then you pair that with a couple of outside linebackers that have really done a nice job as rushing linebackers, and that's a really, really strong unit that I don't think lost much, if not gained, from last year. So how will the newbies in the secondary respond? There's a lot of transfers there, but it looks like it's going to be pretty solid, and that front seven is going to be really the story.
Cal Bears voice Justin Allegri joining us on the Danny and Justin radio program here for a Hump Day Wednesday as Cal gets ready to come to Corvallis Saturday night to take on the Beavers, 7:30 at Research Stadium. So if I asked you, Justin, to give me a dark horse, give me a player on either the offensive or defensive side of the football that might not be getting a lot of publicity, might not be getting all the eyeballs on them, it wasn't a five-star guy or whatever, or even if it is, that people are going to go, wow, or that you expect to make a real impact on this team that they're not being talked about now?
Yeah, so not being talked about, I think Mason Minnie, a tight end, has kind of flown under the radar, but he's going to be a starter. So I think people are talking about him. To me, one receiver that has opened a couple of eyes on the coaching staff in fall camp has been Jordan King. Now, he's been with the team over the last couple of seasons, but he's got the body of a really good wide receiver, 6'2", 220. He's worked on his route running. He's got really good hands. I think he can be a real weapon, and I don't know where he factors in. He's not as fast as a Tron Grizel, and obviously DeJesus kind of has that slot locked up. But I think he's going to be a player that at the end of the year we'll look back and say, man, he made a couple of really key catches for this team, because quarterbacks know they can go to him and he'll just go get the ball. So to me, he's probably the guy that stands out on offense. And on defense, I think T.J. Bush is going to be an X factor for sure. He's a transfer from Liberty. He had good numbers there. And while there's some buzz around him, I think part of that has been taken off by the fact that Uluwave and Farrelly and McCullough are in that linebacking core. And T.J. Bush, if that's the case, he's going to have a good season, because if you forget about him, he'll make you pay for it. So, and he's one of the newcomers to me that I really look at and say that he's going to be an impact type guy for the team and that defensive unit. So those two guys, I mean, just briefly, there's 50 some odd new guys. But those are two that I'm looking at.
All right, final question for you. You've already done, I'm sure, a lot of your scout for Oregon State against Cal. How do you see this matchup, and how do you see Oregon State and what their new weapons that they have, especially Malik Murphy at quarterback? I mean, he's a big dude, and he can move it all over the place. What do you see the scout saying for Oregon State, Cal?
Yeah, Malik Murphy makes a big difference for sure. I mean, last year we saw Oregon State using two quarterbacks, and Murphy now has solidified that he is the guy, and he's established at the Power 5 level. So he knows what he's doing. He's going to move the ball better. I'm sure that's going to make a difference. I mean, Anthony Hankerson, to me, I went into that game last year thinking, gosh, this guy is going to be really, really tough to stop, really, really tough to slow down. And he had the second fewest amount of yards in any one game for him last year. I don't think that's going to be the case for this game. So how you operate with him and how he works in tandem with Murphy and how that changes their offense is, to me, the wild card in this. And again, it's not like we're seeing them on film for a few games. This is game number one. So there can be a lot of elements to this game that are surprising to both teams. And it may take a couple of quarters to figure out what works best and how to try and attack that offense. But I think this offense is vastly improved with Malik Murphy. And, you know, maybe he makes another couple of wide receivers that weren't standouts last year or at different schools. He makes them so much better because of his ability to move around and deliver the ball. So, yeah, that's the thing that it kind of makes me nervous going into game one, because he is established and he has a running back that's very, very good. And if those two can work on the same page, it could be a long night.
All right, well, Justin, I'm just going to suggest it, although I don't know when you can. Get some rest when you can between all these hats that you wear, and maybe take advantage of the plane ride to catch a nap when you come up to Corvallis.
There you go. I'm looking forward to it. I haven't been to research since 2015, so I'm really looking forward to it.
You're going to like it. It's brand new for you, buddy boy. It is absolutely, it's a palace now again. They've done a really nice job with the remodel up there. So safe travels. Have a great call. We'll talk to you later on in the year.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You bet. There he goes, the great Justin Allegri, the director of broadcasting. Cal Bears also does that San Jose Giants single A ball down there in the California League. So, wow. And now with the 49ers as well.
And now on the Danny and Justin program.
And now on the Danny. Well, now his life is complete.
Of course.
He got it on the Danny and Justin
One of his three visits out of the way to get his official nickname.
When Justin and I come back, is it Dante or Austin? We will have the debate on the Danny and Justin radio show. Yeah, when those things end, we got to start talking again. Got about 6 minutes to discuss our last topic. And by the way, again, thanks to Justin Allegri, the voice of the Cal Bears, for hopping on with us to discuss Justin Wilcox's team. Sorry, a little heartburn there. Justin Wilcox's team coming in to take on the Beavers this Saturday. We'll hear the Beavers' perspective of this tomorrow on the program. We're out at Laurelwood. Mike Parker will not be at Laurelwood with us, but he will be on the telephone. And we'll talk to him at 2:20 tomorrow, the voice of the Beavers. So we'll hear that, and then we'll concentrate a lot Friday with Yogi Roth and possibly the voice of Montana State to kind of switch things over and go heavy Oregon on Friday here on the program. So staying on that topic, and by the way, thanks for tuning in to the Danny and Justin radio program live from the Bigfoot Beverages Studios in Eugene and Newport, our friends at 92.7 FM KNCU. Dante Moore or Austin Novasad. It might be a non-starter discussion, but I just wanted to have a little fun with it because there is some pockets, very small as they might be, it is the minority that there is an Austin Novasad camp saying, that nobody's anointed in the Oregon football program to a starter position just because of your quote-unquote status. And Dante Moore was highly recruited, thought he was going to come to Oregon, went to UCLA, sat there, played, didn't like it, comes back to Oregon, and redshirts, sits behind, Bo. Sits behind Dylan Gabriel.
The key thing is that he wanted to come to Oregon, I believe. This is just more conjecture, but I think that basically the story was
Bo was coming.
Bo coming back, basically.
Right.
He was returning for his sixth season or whatever
he didn't
it was.
Stay.
So he basically decided to go take an opportunity at UCLA where he'd know he'd start right away under Chip Kelly, and it thought that might be a better situation
Well, then
for
Chip
him.
leaves.
Chip
and
leaves.
So
It wasn't
he's just
a
like,
great
it's not
start
the
for him.
same. It's not the same there. Okay. So he comes with the most collegiate game experience. So there is tape. There is that high level of competition. Austin Novasad has not seen the field in college in any significant way. However, all of the words inside the camp, apparently, or if you talk to other players and players that talk to each other, and when you hear them talk about it in pressers, I'm not saying anything out of school, I don't have any inside information, is that Austin Novasad is really dialed into this offense. So my question is that if you're not going to anoint Dante Moore because there's no starter been made, but he is the horse that is on the inside rail heading to the finish line to start, what is the argument for Austin Novasad to start over Dante Moore?
Well, the argument starts with the fact that he's a very high-rated prospect, and he's somebody that people think he can be very, very good. So that's where it starts with. The other thing that you would go with is that he's been in the offense for longer than Dante Moore. Yes, right. Dante Moore had some starting experience his freshman year. Austin Novasad was here under Bo Nix and then under Dylan Gabriel. So he has the benefit of being under not one guy, but two guys that are the most experienced guys in college football history.
But 2 full years in this offense. So
in
he's
this
starting
offense with Will Stein.
Dillingham's offense first. Right.
Right. Actually, that lines up. Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
And now under Will Stein. So both have the same amount of experience in this offense.
But he's been around longer.
He has.
And been under multiple quarterbacks versus just Dylan Gabriel.
Good, tall kid, strong arm, can run as well. Maybe Dante Moore's got a bit of an edge in breaking out of the pocket and scooting upfield than Austin, more of a traditional drop-back passer. But I think in this offense, there's going to be, I think it's managing the offense, managing mistakes. He's a mature kid. They're both mature in different ways, if that can even be a thing. So I just, honestly, I get torn on this whole 1-1A thing because, you know, if you have the best backup quarterback in the world, what's that old line? I don't know.
If you have 2 quarterbacks and you have no quarterbacks?
Right, you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. But that's not the case here.
No, I don't think so.
I really think they're interchangeable parts. But you can't do that to a team because there is a certain rhythm that you get with a person under center in football.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll never forget, it's always important to have a backup quarterback. College, NFL, doesn't matter. High school, it's all important. And I'll never forget, it was, I think it was the 2015 season when, of course, all the Oregon fans are going to remember the finale of it, but Ohio State, when they had, I think it was Braxton Miller, and they had, obviously, Cardale Jones was the third guy, and then they had, I forgot who it was. There was a J.T. Barrett, who was that
Barnett.
Barrett? I think it was J.T. Barrett. That's off the memory.
Go.
But basically, my point is, we basically saw a team that was super-duper talented lose their starting quarterback and then lose their second guy who came in and was awesome. And then it got to the third guy, and you had no idea how good he was going to be. And he came in and obviously carried Ohio State to a national championship game, and then they won it. That's where it's so important to have a guy underneath the top guy, no matter who it is. So you could say, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. But if you actually have 2 really good quarterbacks, there is certainly going to be opportunity for both of these guys at some point in the season with injuries and everything else.
Well, I just think Dante Moore starts. I think if Austin Novasad sees the field, it's going to be either the offense isn't clicking or there is a big lead.
Correct.
And Dan Lanning wants to see Novasad out on the field.
Oh, a joke!
I got fired from the bank today. A woman asked me to check her balance, so I pushed her.
Dad jokes!
I don't know if I get this one or not. Oh, there we go. What room doesn't have doors? What room doesn't have doors?
I don't know.
A mushroom.
Oh, unless it's a mushroom home. Like a little gnome.
Talking about like Keebler Village or something like that. Tomorrow on the program, we're live out at Laurelwood for our last regular visit with Nick and the crew. We're going to have Aaron, the chef, on the program. He's got some wild hair he's going to show us. Will might be out there, and we're going to get our tip from Jacob. Put a smile on your face. Someone else says they deserve it. So do you. God bless. Mike Parker on the program tomorrow as well. For Justin, I'm Danny. Peace.